Dom Giordano on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
All right, Dom Giordano Show. Our next guest I've interviewed on national shows. I am a fan, even though I found something I differ with. Her approach is unique. She's a wild card. She's the opinion editor for Newsweek. Author Batya Ungar-Sargon, the new book, Second Class. And in here, she talks about how the Republican Party has, second class, how the elites have betrayed America's working men and women is the full title. Let's go to Batya here on Talk Radio 1210. Good afternoon. Welcome back in, and thanks for a great book.
Hi, Dom. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to hear what is the thing you disagree with me about.
Oh, okay. I teased it well there. Reparations, which we'll get to.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I try to be honest. I wanted listeners to know that we do differ on that, at least the one interview I read, but that's okay. The rest of it is unique, nuanced, and stuff that we don't hear enough in talk radio and cable TV, because you are one of the few people that can go on any of them and handle it. It's not a Johnny One Note, without a doubt, and it's unique, and this is your niche. I don't think anybody else shares it with you in quite the same way.
That is really kind of you to say. On the reparations front, I have to tell you a very funny story, which is one of my best friends is a black conservative, and one time we were talking about reparations, and I said something like, well, we have this debt, and we never paid it. And he looked at me, and he went, who's we? Are you saying that I owe myself a debt, or are you saying, I said, we as America. He goes, am I not part of America, or should I pay myself? And that kind of tanked my whole reparations belief in 1 minute. So we may be more on the same page than you think. Yeah, the book is about the working class. It's about who is the American working class, and do they still have a fair shot at the American dream? And I traveled around the country for a year interviewing working class people of all races and religions and in different industries and different family makeups. And what I found was that there is a huge consensus among working class Americans about their beliefs and about the policies they support, whether they vote for Democrats or Republicans. They, by and large, agree on what they want. The problem is that neither party is really representing their interests. So it's really a crapshoot. So they pick one party or the other, but they're not overly invested in it in the way that the elites are, like, super invested in their political life. You know what I mean?
That is that's worth the price of admission right there. I couldn't. The second part of what you just said, yeah, they're too busy. They're too tired out. They're too busy struggling to make ends meet. Did you find them saying, because I could never bring myself to say this, I got to admit it, I would lie to myself even if I believed it, telling their kids or believing that they will not do as well as they've done? I would lie to myself. I couldn't admit that.
Yeah, they all are very hyper aware of it, and they're extremely upset about it. These people are remarkably patriotic, which kind of breaks your heart for the amount that this country has betrayed them and sold out their future to build up, the middle class in China and Mexico, which is, boils my blood. But yeah, they are very aware of that. The situation right now is it's unbelievable. I mean, groceries are up 18%. Can you imagine what that's like for a person who's living on a shoestring budget? They're very aware of it and very upset about it.
How have the Democrats, in your view, lost? And then we'll talk about the Republicans, who I think you're saying have gained for now, but maybe not. The elites on the Democrat side. What did they do? Is it illegal immigration? What else is it?
Right. So last night there was this $25 million fundraiser with three presidents. It was Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden. It was like a rogues gallery of the betrayal of the working class, because the Democrats used to be the party of labor. And then Bill Clinton showed up and signed something called NAFTA, which was a trade agreement between a number of countries in which they simply agreed to ship 5 million good-paying working-class jobs overseas to build up the middle class of other countries. And then Barack Obama showed up and said, you know what, those jobs aren't coming back. And Joe Biden came and said, and all of the jobs that remained here, all the service industry jobs, all of the remaining manufacturing jobs, all the meatpacking jobs, all of these other jobs, we're going to open the border and flood the marketplace with 12, 15 million illegal migrants to take those jobs. So first they shipped the good jobs overseas, then they devalued the jobs that remained here by opening the border. And then if the working class dares to object to their own disenfranchisement and their own impoverishment, they get called racist.
How about African American and Latino working class, though? And my theory, I'm not sure if you agree with any of this, though, is Republicans had a chance to get in there before. To your point, this has been going on for a while. But Mitt Romney is a guy in the top hat, and I'm not being critical of him. He's a fine person in some ways. But Trump is a different sort of relatable factor there. There's a secret sauce there, and he's the one that started to bring this group to the Republican side more overtly.
I 100% agree with you. The thing that liberals can't understand is that there's only one thing that conservative working class people hate more than the Democratic Party, and it's the Republican Party. They feel totally pimped out by the Republican Party. They hate the GOP. They see it as the party of the Chamber of Commerce and the rich and free trade and all the stuff that sold them out, tax cuts for the rich and foreign wars. They hate all of that stuff. And Donald Trump showed up. He took one look at these people and said, wow, the majority of the country has no party representing them. And he took an axe to the free trade agreement that both parties had signed on to. So what we're seeing right now is that, you know, the multiracial working class coalition that the Democrats like to pretend they represent, but who they actually abandoned, now is very much in the tank for Donald Trump. But the Republican Party is going to have to do a real soul searching if they want to keep these voters after Trump.
Yeah, they can't, in my view. I don't know.
You're right.
I don't have a glossary in front of me, but Rick Santorum is a friend, and I think he was way ahead of the time, and he met with Trump. Trump's instinct may have been there, Batya, but Blue Collar Conservative was his book, and I think it was way ahead of his time of exactly what was going to happen here.
Yeah, definitely. That sort of populist voter who's sort of more morally and socially conservative, but economically wants that protectionist economy that's going to protect American labor and protect the American family, Dom. That is who Donald Trump speaks directly to. And it's increasingly Hispanics. He's now representing the majority of Hispanics are now voting for Trump. And so in 2020, he was polling at 8% of black men. He got 18% of black men. He is currently polling anywhere between 20 and 40% of black men. So you can imagine what the numbers are going to be. This is really going to be a historic win.
The issue here, though, of we're taught that protectionism is bad if you're a conservative on that level. But I think you make a strong argument, given what they've done, particularly with China. What else are you going to do to protect American workers if you don't target some of that?
You know what China's competitive advantage is over the United States? It's not a natural resource. It's the government's willingness to enslave its own people. I'm sorry, but slavery is not a competitive advantage that any corporation should be allowed to take advantage of, and neither is destroying the American family, and that is simply what we've done. But even the data suggests that all of the conservative projections are wrong about this. Look at aluminum and steel, right? Donald Trump showed up. He said, we're not going to sell out these jobs to China. We're not going to let China undercut us on aluminum and steel. Those jobs pay an average of $88,000 a year to non-union workers. That's a solidly middle-class wage. We're going to protect those jobs. He slapped a 25% tariff onto aluminum and steel. Oh, the economists went crazy. No one's going to be able to afford anything. This is going to crush the American consumer, blah, blah, blah. And you know what? Prices went up a little bit for a while, yes. And then they went back down because of competition. So it's just not true that you can't protect the American worker. It's just not true you can't protect the American economy from the point of view of the American worker, which is the American family. I just want to stress that again and again. Wages mean protecting the family. It means the mother can stay home and raise the babies when they're little, and you don't have to send them out to some, Democrat-run pre-K, universal pre-K, where they're going to be taught that there's a million genders, right? This is all baked into the dignity of labor.
I think the first book and first time I talked with you, you had something unique. This really brings it all home. Second Class, How the Elites Betrayed America's Working Men and Women. Are there champions out there that are starting to rise? Because it's great if they're activists or, theorists, but if they're not into actual political power at some point or helping to agitate that, I mean, you're one. You don't have to name names, but do people talk with you? And just like Trump knew to talk to Santorum, as I said on this, and that kind of fleshed out Trump's own instincts.
Yeah, there's a guy called Oren Cass who has an organization called American Compass. He has been creating policy agendas to support everything that I'm talking about here. Josh Hawley, J.D. Vance are both big on this populist front. I will say the book has a roadmap for any politician who wants to represent these people. You know what's really interesting? The top concerns of working class Americans are immigration, right, which means protecting their jobs, controlling the border, but also healthcare and housing. If a Republican stood up and said, I'm going to make housing, healthcare, and immigration my top priorities, they would win in a landslide and have a permanent majority. I mean, that's the key here, is that each party has 50% of it and is actively undermining the other 50% of it, right? If Republicans came up with a way to control healthcare costs and to stop having these cartels, these, insurance companies and the pharmaceutical companies having so much power over something like healthcare, like what is more godly than protecting the American worker's body, right? They work so hard with their hands and their bodies that would be a winning formula. I mean, the book is just full of this. It's exactly who is the American working class. They vote for the two parties, but they have a unified agenda and it's up for grabs. It is up for grabs, Dom.
Yeah, absolutely. The book says that. And, well, we have to have you back for part 2. The book is out on April 2nd, but maybe a little bit down the road. Parting area, how about I'm not a fan, I'll tell you. I'm a fan of some of the pop here, some of the stuff that's a little bit different. But I'm not a fan at the end of the day of RFK Jr., his choice of this Nicole as a VP choice tells me a lot. This is hooked into big tech and all that I'm suspicious of with this stuff. What do you see with RFK Jr.?
She gave $150,000 to Gascon, the Soros-backed. I mean, come on. To me, the infighting between RFK Jr. and Biden, they're indistinguishable. RFK Jr. spent his life trying to get rid of fossil fuels, which is class warfare against the working class, his climate agenda, and all of that is a distraction from the fact that the actual centrist candidate in this race is Donald Trump.
That is so true. And you get about it in a unique way because no one could pin you into a category. I commend this book. You really are, this niche of what you've been talking about over the last number of years since I've heard of you. Second Class, How the Elites Betrayed America's Working Men and Women comes out on April 2nd. Thanks for joining us, and please come back again soon.
Anytime. Thank you so much for having me, Dom. God bless.
Dom Giordano, weekdays noon till 3 from Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.